Back in the studio. Oh, let me adjust this. Team Early as Fuck podcast. John Gildenzoff.
Hello.
Or John, as everyone else describes it. It can be an intimidating last name, but it's actually, I don't know if it's, for whatever reason, I've always been just Gildenzoff.
Phonetically, it's all there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's basically three words: Gil, Den, Zoff. And the only thing that throws people off is the PH at the end.
I was gonna say, yeah.
But I mean, it's not that crazy.
No.
There's actually a fracture off of the family name that's PF, which to me makes less sense. At least PH, like phone, like people, it's an F sound.
Yep.
But PF,
you're going weird now.
Yeah.
Gildenzoff.
So not too bad. But yeah, people somewhat
Fair enough.
I think it's just the size of the name
that's also, there's a Z.
Yes.
The capital G is aggressive. No, but we're here in the studio. We should have done this earlier. We're still getting our shit together, and we've both have all the things.
I haven't seen you. Well, I mean,
yeah,
other
just
than the
random
5 minutes.
At the ranch. And that'll be its own. We'll get there. But Bullet Point Faction Games 2019. It's coming up. I'm excited. I know all the fitness freaks are excited. And Judge Travis was game face ready at the Harley game, so I'm excited. He's excited.
I'm so glad that guy didn't get a team together because he's my favorite judge.
For sure. He was like, "Oh, I'm letting these kids get away with too much." I'm like, "It is a charity event. It's okay."
He's gonna like Brooke. Brooke Hansen's gonna be our head judge, and she takes this shit seriously.
Yeah, she does. It'll be good. I'm excited. So I want to do a recap. Bullet Point. I'll show note the last episodes, but quick and dirty Bullet Point recap. Where it started, where it's been, and what we're doing going forward with it.
Sure. So yeah, it's kind of evolved. We'll do the elevator pitch, but I think we're going 5 years.
Sounds right.
4 years.
Yep.
2015, I believe, was our first one, and it was just out of I think it was basically kind of that start of the fitness competitions kind of becoming more popular, or at least ones that weren't the CrossFit Open. Festivus was. Yep. I can't say when they actually started, but it couldn't have been more than. I mean, we did that one, but I think the year before might have been the first iteration of that, at least in our area.
Because there was the first Festivus I went to was in La Crosse, but I can't remember if that was before or after Badger State.
We took a bus there.
Yeah, that was an awesome time. So we had Festivus, and we went there, and then we're like, we could do this.
We hosted one, and then we realized that they didn't do anything, so we could kind of do it ourselves. Really, it was just a matter of coming up with some branding, and and so our first one, I think spring,
Saturday, May 9th, 2015.
Yeah,
Bullet Point Classic 2015.
There you go. It's good to have the internet,
right? I love it.
But yeah, that one was hosted by CrossFit Stevens Point. So I think their gym was about 5,000 square feet maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It was tight quarters, but pretty prototypical. We kind of kind of gained some of our stripes there as far as just initiating the brand and initiating starting to build that reputation of running things in an organized manner, which I later realized that that's what it's all about. People really, for the most part, most people don't really care about prizes. They don't really care about the workout, the programming. They don't really care about much other than is what you're delivering, what you say you're going to deliver, and you stay on task and on time.
Mm-hmm.
That I get the most good feedback about just that, which is so silly to me because I spend more time on all those other things.
Other things.
And those other things obviously play a role as well. But at least with the audience that we're in, I think that is a big thing. But yeah, so we've been doing this about 4 years now. The Bullet Point, it started with the Bullet Point Classic, like I said. That was our individual event.
Mm-hmm.
I started trying to expand that. I think directly after that, I think we did the Team Classic.
Yep. That was August 15th.
Yeah. So
I forget, that was a crazy turnaround.
Yeah. We literally...
Jesus.
It wasn't until after we completed the individual event, we decided, hey, let's do a team event.
Uh-huh.
And it's funny because I see kind of this in other people now that, when you first start out, kind of in this arena or, really any event organization, you can always, knowing now, if I knew now or if I knew then what I know now, I would have never tried to do that kind of turnaround. That was insane. And somehow we pulled it off still.
Yeah.
But, it was a good thing because I think we rode the momentum that we had with the Classic and then, delivered again. And that one was all outside at Gerke Field. Hottest day of the year.
We were doing, we had some partner wheelbarrow walks at the gym this week. And there's a couple people that are excited to come out to Comet Field. I was a little bummed we couldn't put a team together at D1 this year, but I think every year, confidence builds, people get more comfortable and more people get that bug. So it's only a matter of time because there's already...
I'm surprised he didn't, but at the same time, again, I think this year was the first year you had significant turnout in the Open.
Yeah.
I think that's always the first step.
Yep.
People getting comfortable in their own environment, really understanding. We've been in this so long that you forget that somebody new to the sport, and I think the people that ran Harley games this past weekend. Quickly, they learned a lot this weekend. I think not so much from the standpoint of just purely organization, but from the standpoint of what is this sport, right?
Yep.
It's kind of like having somebody run a baseball tournament that has never run, or has never played baseball. You know what I mean? And there's something about understanding the sport. And that coupled together with actually organizing an event, of that sport, you kind of have to have a deep understanding of what's going on. Otherwise, it's a little chaotic.
A little bit.
But I think your athletes are gonna. I mean, I see it as that's the next evolution is always team event. So online event. Team event, and I guess that's why we've really kind of turned that direction from the Bullet Point branding standpoint of the online events super successful, and we can talk a little bit about that here in a bit, but the online events are super successful because it's the gateway drug of competition.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people have participated in that. That had no motivation to participate in it, but because everybody at their gym was doing it, and the gym earns equipment if you sign up, blah blah blah, that they would sign up, and then all of a sudden their inner competitor kind of kicked in, and they started doing every one of our events. But yeah, the next level there, obviously the team event. And our first iteration of the team was just a straight 4-person team event, the one we had at Gerke Field. That went very well. I guess in my aspects, I was always looking for something a little more interesting, meaning there's a lot of competitions out there.
Yeah.
It's slightly watered down, and I just, I feel there's a lot of competitions that offer the same thing. And kind of what I've always tried to figure out is, all right, how do I find that niche of making it more community based, and also involving as many people as I can with limited resources. So the individual events, they started out being the cornerstone of all this. I mean, the Classic was the first event. We did the Classic. We did another individual Classic 2 years later.
Because 2016 was Fittest Farmhand.
Yeah, that was the
only one I've missed.
That was the down year. Fittest Farmhand was great. That was kind of last minute too. That was an existing event put on by the guys at CrossFit Farmland Fitness Now. They did it as a local event at a local park in Waunakee typically. I was kind of embedded with those guys quite a bit, and decided just because that year certain things happened and we didn't pull the trigger on any of our events, I still had that bug kind of to do something, and kind of took the reins on that, and they were gracious enough to let me play with their toys basically. and that was one of the evolution. There was kind of, I was still in the mindset that I had to push the envelope, meaning it was more of a kind of fuck you to anybody that said that, oh, that can't be done, you can't do that, whatever. And that one especially because it was coming off of just some inner turmoil with the brand and just dealing with all the drama that was going on with CrossFit Stevens Point. And I just felt like it's something to prove a little bit. And so I just thought, what's the biggest, short of renting out Lambeau Field, what's the biggest venue I could hit up in Wisconsin? And Alliant Energy Center just happened to be that. That was a very interesting story, just indirectly because it happened to occur during the week that Castro was there scouting Madison for the CrossFit Games, and our event, that the city used our event as an example to say, hey, we're already doing events like this here at this venue, definitely not on that scale, but I always like to think that we had some influence on that. It makes me smile every time that story comes up. But coming off that year, I was really looking for something fresh, and that was after Fittest Farmhand. That's when I was approached by just random sales call from one of the guys at Wadcast. They had seen my stuff online, and I talked to what was at that time their sales rep. And he started talking me up about online qualifiers and all of this stuff. And I'm like, I was looking at it from the standpoint of, well, again, I think online qualifier, I think like elite competition, and not that I didn't want my competition to be elite, but that really wasn't my focus. My focus has always been the scaled athlete. I want to provide that experience, but for anybody that wants to.
For everyone.
Not just the people that can, do the best at exercise to go to event. I want it open. So the whole concept of online qualifier just seemed pretentious to me. But after about halfway through, when he was, trying to talk to me about, because the beauty of an online qualifier is people pay for the online qualifier, and that really pays for your event. This is what happens in Europe all the time. Like, European competition scene is completely different than stateside. It's run by event coordinators, and that's how they pay for it, is they run these huge online qualifiers where they have 1,000 athletes competing just to qualify for the final event. And so not only do they hit you with a minor charge for the qualifier, but when you qualify, then you pay the actual, just like you would around here, the entry fee to compete at the final. So they're kind of double dipping, but at the same time, the money they make in the online qualifier pays for the entire final event.
It's that money's got to come from somewhere in
Right.
the sport. It's definitely, there's no
Right.
even the CrossFit Games charge their athletes hundreds of dollars to
Right.
compete. So, but for me, it's always been what I love most about it is, like you said, giving the everyday athlete or the everyday person that athletic experience, because all I see in the fitness world is people doing more and more endurance events,
Yeah.
and that's cool. That's great. That's a good goal for some of us. But if you
It's not
chasing the endurance dragon doesn't end well from a sustainable version of health and fitness.
it's not a healthy goal. Well, it's not it's like anything.
Yeah.
It's
It's just like it's like fitness or CrossFit when you
in moderation.
yeah.
But when you don't have any other options, and all there are every, say you want
Right now,
you're-
this
you're a
time of
competitor,
year, so we break
Every
down.
weekend?
Yeah, we talk about community events in the gym, and it's literally you have to pick between like 6. There'll be like a walk, a
Sure.
run, for 3 or 4 different things. They're all great. They're all for great causes.
right?
So that that's the awesome part behind it. But it's always just like, oh, another run.
Yeah,
More and then it's like the only thing you can chase is longer and longer duration.
right.
And that's not necessarily healthy, because all people care about is the number. It's
Yeah.
like when people see, oh, I got to do this number of pull-ups. Well, no. Can you do 5 perfect pull-ups? Well, if you can't do that, don't fucking worry about the 50 that are written on the board.
Right.
And that's like going back to what we talk about with programming is, you're putting so much time into the programming, and we're bouncing ideas off each other, and because we want it to challenge people, but also realistic and safe.
Yeah.
Like when we write the programming, we're not like, fuck everyone. Like this is going to be only the fittest will be able. It's like, no, this is going to challenge you, like mentally and physically. It'll push your capacity, but we're not looking to like injure anyone.
Correct. And it kind of, I take a lot of that stuff, just the philosophies that we've always had about training, and all of the, I think me and you both had our qualms with the direction CrossFit was going at the time, being very game centric, which is very ironic, me saying that, somebody that runs competitions, and it goes into the, what the state of competing in quote unquote CrossFit, or, what, we refer to as functional fitness events, competitions. The previous state was, and what it seemed like is, CrossFit became very competitive centric, only because that's where all their money came from. And I, it's funny because I had a discussion recently, and I'm going to name drop here, but I occasionally speak with Elizabeth Darsh just randomly, mainly to hit her up for signed copies of her books for prize packages. But I've talked to her this most recently. She kind of sent me a paragraph on Facebook about like what my thoughts were on the direction that Glassman was taking, with basically just completely taking the CrossFit Games out back and putting a bullet in their head, and then walking away like nothing happened. And I guess maybe not that, but at least regionals, and de-emphasizing what had gotten them there, which, I don't know that I could like Glassman more after that, but at the same time, I'm just like, I don't know what that's going to do to everything. You know what I mean? It's like he kind of just like cut it loose and said, we'll see what happens.
Yep.
Is it going to survive? I think it has too much momentum not to survive. It's just, is it going to be in the same capacity? Because I think the real power behind the CrossFit Games was always the Open. It was the fact that, people are not only buying into the sport, they're doing the sport alongside the, the Michael Jordans and the It's like being involved in a baseball tournament that with professional athletes, but you're competing side by side. I mean, that's an easy sell, man. Like, I mean, that was pure genius to start. And then with, unfortunately the popularity, CrossFit grew so much that it kind of became watered down. To me, like, I know you're supposed to be looking at how did I do last year compared to this year. Well, that kind of gets lost when, the amount of people doing the open, like double, triple, quadruple, and you end up being, 3,000th out of, whatever, it doesn't become a good measuring tool anymore.
Yep.
And so I saw this coming from a mile away. And that's part of the reason why, after that conversation with the guy from Wadcast, halfway through the conversation about qualifier, I'm like, well, could I just use it for like running my own open?
Yeah. And
that's where Bullet Point Open came out of. So that was 2017, I guess. First open?
2016.
16. It was the year. It was, I think, after. Yeah.
Yep, January 1st, 2016.
So the idea behind that was, this is perfect. It's my complete wheelhouse being an IT guy. All it requires is a lot of IT support, a lot of answering question, help desk support, basically people asking questions, you helping them, so on and so forth. A bunch of marketing, obviously, a bunch of talking sponsors into donating stuff for prizes, but really there's no overhead. The overhead at the time was that I had to pay Wadcast to use their system, which wasn't cheap, but the amount of people that we could get involved, it easily paid for itself.
Yeah.
And then there was no final event to pay for. So, as long as I could cover the spread there, it seemed like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And that slowly and I wouldn't even say slowly. I think pretty much from the get-go, I had the focus and the of what I wanted that to be, and it was pretty much what the original CrossFit Open is like, I want to highlight the athletes in this area. I'm not going to really try to push it outside of this area. If it grows that way, great. And we certainly have grown that way. But the focus there and the focus of everything always came down to, all right, how do I use this to A, highlight local athletes, B, help local gyms that are doing the right things, and supporting the right things. And in addition, how do I create, and this came out of my experience with dealing with gyms, where gyms were popping up left and right at that time, and immediate rivalries were ensuing, meaning, one would open, we had Wausau CrossFit, was the first one to the table up in our area, and then those they kind of spawned off of each other, so people there started their own blah blah blah, and then they hated each other, and then the communities couldn't really do anything together because the owners were basically shitting on the other owners. And I'm just like, I saw it as, I'm like, all your fates are intertwined. Like, even now, like, if and what I love about this area, like everything else, it's kind of it doesn't make any sense. This area, Stevens Point fitness community, doesn't really make any sense because just of the stuff I went through. But there is a somewhat amicable relationship between pretty much every gym in the area. While I think there's still work to be done as far as, it's undeniable that the separate communities are great and they do great things, right, separately. But it's undeniable what that same group could accomplish if they all work together. And so what I've always seen with the Open, with the Bullet Point Open, and with these events is there's pretty much two different things that you can easily get multiple gyms, even if they don't like each other, at least from the owner standpoint, behind. And that is, one is competitions and the other is charity.
Yep.
So it's kind of the universal bridge. Like, no matter if you don't think that they have good coaches or, blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing. And, the really what they can get behind is something that gels their community more. And what I try to do is then use that to gel multiple communities together. Because really it's usually, and it makes sense. Like if you're the owner of a business, right, and you have a business that sells the same thing that you do, there's going to just be a natural, that's capitalism, right? It's a natural that you want to do better than that person, or, you want to, provide the superior product. And I think sometimes that clouds things from the standpoint of, we always say there's more people not doing this than doing it. It's like, why don't you go and sell some of the people that aren't doing it instead of trying to take each other's people that are already doing it?
Yep.
Plenty of people out there not working out.
Exactly.
Potential clients are
14 or 15% of the population has gym membership. And if we're talking CrossFit or boutique gym membership, that percentage is like 5%, single digits,
right?
Like 3 to 5% of that 14%. So, right. And that, it's always been my focus as a coach. It's like I hold myself to a high standard. I'm always learning, talking to coaches that I feel are better than me in something, learning. And I hope my competition from like the business standpoint is doing the same thing, because I'm always going to grow off that. Yeah. I'm never going to copy what like they're doing what they do. I look at it, I get motivated by it. Yeah. And not from I tell my athletes this all the time. It's like, there's a lot of great gyms in this town.
No one size fit all, man.
Exactly. There's no one perfect way to get fitness or community. It's like, that's the beauty of it. Yeah. And there's really no one facility that could do that well and still house the community. Right. Like there's a max to the number of people that can be in a facility where it still feels like family and you still feel close. Like,
absolutely.
You get over 150 people, 200 people, and
not only
starts
that,
to lose its
it's
intensity.
The chemistry too.
Yep.
Like personalities, even within the gym,
Yep.
Well, for lack of a better word, cliques form.
Oh yeah. We're tribal. Humans are tribal.
Not in the derogatory sense, but that, it's like
you gravitate towards people that you enjoy being around.
Right. And with all the with the surprising thing, like everything in Stevens Point, is that the options are plentiful. Mm-hmm. Like there's not just, I remember when the Wausau CrossFit opened, it was the only option. Like unless you wanted to do a 24-hour fitness, that was it, or a personal trainer. And now you actually have options, and these, and what people are starting to understand is community-based fitness is way more successful, in my opinion, than any of those other endeavors. I'm guessing the percentages are just astronomical as far as retention, at least to that form of working out. Like I get that there's those people that they just want to slap headphones on and just bro out in their own space. But for most of us, like you said, we're tribal. We want, even me, the complete introvert, I know that is my best scenario for working out, is that group environment. Not that I'm interacting actively, but just the fact that the group is there doing the same thing. Again, I think there's, a huge draw to that. But so yeah, I mean, back to the open, that concept really took off and matured quickly. I think our first year was like 250, which I thought was astronomical. We had 250 people register. The following year, I think we did 700. And then the year after that, we had about 750, and I thought we were kind of plateauing. But again, it kind of goes back to what you were talking about with, and kind of my whole philosophy going into it was I wanted it to be local. I want you to, when you see a name of a gym on a leaderboard, I want you to know where that is. Like, oh yeah, that one's down in Madison. Like I've dropped in there or something like that. And not only that, but like, because this community, the more competitions, the more crossover in athletes, I'm still surprised, like the connections that I see on Facebook as far as like, I meet a guy that did our competition, and then like I have friends that live over in Minnesota, and somehow those lines get drawn because, they went to Granite Games or something, or they went to a game day comp, they met, they friended each other, and now they're, kind of actively social media friends. And, again, it's connecting dots between places that shouldn't have dots connected, just either geographically or socially or whatever. I find that fascinating, and that's what I love about the Open. That's why I feel the Open is the cornerstone of everything that we do now. Not only from a business side, because it's obviously the only competition that makes me any money, because all the on-site stuff is just, there's so much that goes into it. But the nice thing about it is, it makes money, and then I can dump that into, it's kind of like having an online qualifier, making the money, but I treat it as just a social, a community builder event that I can, super hype up, and I can reach people that I would never be able to reach, meaning I can get somebody to do that would never think of competing ever, and maybe never would again until the next Open. But like I said, I've had countless people email me saying like, I never thought I would compete in this, and then now I've done like 3 different competitions or whatever, and it's the same kind of drug that they feed off of when they join the gym.
And the thing about the bullet, like, being biased here with the Open and being a big believer in it, but it's a sustainable competition because it kicks their training into a higher gear. And
I think it's the timing too.
It's that time of year. Winter, it's kind of miserable, kind of shitty. And I know for like myself, I'm constantly like, I want people to compete, and I purposefully use a leaderboard in certain time periods, right. It's not a daily leaderboard because and if you're a coach and you feel differently, that's fine. Like I said, there's no one way.
Well, again, it's emphasizing the competition to motivate, and then
train smart instead of
right, and then
just competing.
This time of year we're being competitive, and then let's go back to basics again. We're just going to train. We're going to train to get better.
Yep.
And then next year, when it's that time again, it's like, all right, now we're gonna compete, because it's 2 different ways of training.
Yep.
One is, and which is, the issue that I'm going with, one of the events in one of the online events for the Faction Games is a double DT, and basically it's movements that it's the epitome of what you're talking about. You do DT for training purposes, and you focus on form. It's a great workout.
Yep.
But you put it in a competitive atmosphere, and people just lose their mind as far as, they think they have to rush it. Their form goes to crap. They think they can get a better score by doing that. And in the end...
That's Jake the Snake, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to click on it.
So I think you're absolutely right. Again, I'm probably, it's very ironic that I think of, me running competitions. I think the competitive part is a tool, but I feel that that if you're training for health, like those are two different avenues.
Mm-hmm.
Training to compete and training for health, two completely different things. And 99% of people should be training for health. Now, that's usually not the case.
Yeah.
Like you said, like anybody with any sort of competitive, you know, and I see this the big time difference between your gym and, say, CrossFit Stevens Point is I see a lot more the competitive drive there, the leaderboard, which is a great tool if you can be smart about it.
Yep.
But you know, and it's also ironic because, you know, I'm sure you've had talks with Alex, who's the head coach at CrossFit Stevens Point. As soon as he figured out the difference, he got healthy.
Yep.
And which allowed him to compete on a very on a higher level than he was, because when he was training what he thought training to compete to, you know, he was injured all the time and not, you know, and I just look at that as like, you know, I'm of your philosophy of, you know, it's timing. And the great thing about the Bullet Point Open, like I said, the timing of the event, using it as a tool for your athletes that aren't always competitive, but it's usually those people that it's a great tool for because they can turn it on and off, right? You can turn it on for that 3 weeks or whatever and be super competitive, and then be able to turn it off again and go back to, you know, concentrating on the movements and becoming healthier, etc. But some people have a hard time turning it on. They always looking at the leaderboard.
Always.
And so if you have a leaderboard, that just feeds that.
Yep.
And so not having a leaderboard on occasion, and probably more regularly than anything, is a good deterrent for that. But yeah, so we're on 4th year of the Bullet Point Open. This last iteration was we had 1,001. 1,001 athletes competing. I had competitors as far away as Louisiana and Georgia. Couple good things came out of this last one. One, I got hooked up with a guy that runs a box in Georgia from, I think it's Georgia. Micah Vang.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Dropped in somewhere. And so,
shout out Glenn.
Yeah, Glenn. So he mentioned it, and he dropped this guy's name. I reached out to him. He is a adaptive athlete himself, and he works with a ton of adaptive athletes. I guess his box is near some military base, I believe.
That sounds right.
So he works with a lot of adaptive athletes, and I think he got involved pretty late in the game. Like, we started registration in like October for the competition, which was January 1st. So I think it was like December when I started talking to him. So he got a bunch of his athletes to do it. They did scaled and provided an option for them to basically scale to scaled.
Yep.
But after talking to him, like, next year, man, like, if you're willing, like, let's do an actual adaptive division, but I need help with the program.
That's going to be so badass.
That was always the issue, is like, well, you know, it's like the same thing as me coaching something or something else, is like, I just don't have the expertise to, you know, I barely have the expertise to program for somebody that's able-bodied, let alone all. And it's the adaptive is very, very different, mainly because you're dealing with so many different adaptations, right?
Well, it's like scaling a workout when, like, right now, peak running season, like what I'll see in the gym is a lot of people with plantar fasciitis or hamstring injuries because everyone's working at a desk, and now it's nice and they're like, I'm just gonna go run a bunch or do a bunch of like crazy pack hikes, or shoulder issues because maybe they're going ham on some pull-ups and they sit at their desk with hunched forward posture all the time. So it's like, now I have to, you know, modify and this is not at the same level as adaptive athletes, but I'm just saying, like, as
but
a
even
coach,
that level is difficult.
As a coach, being like, all right, here's the workout for the day for 20 people. 5 of them have completely different physical ailments going on. So it's like, how do I modify the workout and then give them something that will hopefully help them recover, put their body in a position of recovery.
Right.
And then personal plug here. If you got that stuff going on, that's also how I do personal training. So if you need a coach, that's also
You still have time?
not really. My
You still taking clients, man?
Nah, my personal training's full. It's booked. But hey,
Get on the list.
if you there is basically a list of people. I'm like, no, still not open. But it's like,
I think your dance card was full on that ever since you moved to D1.
yeah, and then I just kind of like, hey, if you're a super cool person, you have a great story. It really comes down to story. Like I'll meet with you, assess you, be like, oh, that's a pretty cool story, and then I'll maybe like
write me a 10-page essay.
Yeah, bump someone else. Yeah, why do you need personal training with me?
Yeah, that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, it's got to
Pick
be.
and choose.
It's got to be a good story for me to be bought in.
Well, it helps when the people are actually. I remember back in my before CrossFit when I was personal training with Christy.
Shout out Christy.
And she would always complain. It's just like because 99% of her clients that she just would come in, they're not helping themselves. They don't have the mindset of all they have to do is just do what she tells them, and they're gonna but they have to. They'll do it, but they're gonna complain about it.
Yeah.
Or they're gonna fight you, and it's just like so it's nice to be able to work with people that are motivated to help themselves.
Yeah, they want it.
Get out of their way.
Like, you can bitch all you want because it's fun. It's fun to bicker back and forth. Yeah. But at the end of the day, like, these people want it.
You got to want it.
Yeah, they want it. And
so it's good to be picky on that front.
Definitely. Because, this has been like a common theme in the podcast lately is, we all have to work. We all have to make money to make a living. And some of us are fortunate enough where what we do is what we thoroughly enjoy. Yeah. So that's pretty fucking cool. I'm so appreciative and thankful for that every day. But still at the end of the day, like, personal training clients are extra on top of the already crazy hours I'm doing. So for me, I'm very selective of that energy. Like, if I'm going to pour this knowledge and passion for movement and helping people, it's like they've got to return some of that energy.
Oh yeah.
And not just be like take. So yeah, it's a good place to be in.
Yeah, so back to the adaptive. So and I've been approached before by a handful of people that just from random boxes that have competed at our on-site events about what do you think about? I mean, the common one was about masters divisions, and then the slightly more uncommon was, we have like adaptive athletes. It'd be great to do something like that. And that's the other nice thing about running the online competition, is that it's kind of my testing ground for almost anything that we want to do on site.
Yep.
Yeah, at least
for sure.
From a division standpoint, because I'd love to do like a kids division or at least something, and teens are good too. I'm a little hesitant to do anything other than something that's a controlled competitive environment, especially for teens. Like for kids, it's easy to make it not so competitive.
Yep.
And I think I've accomplished that in the online, in the Bullet Point Open. We do a kids division it's 12 and under, and the programming's super basic, and there's very, very loose standards. And basically the asterisk there is, I basically tell the coaches, I'm like, I want them coached by you.
You hold your standard.
You hold the standard. You adapt the workout however you need to adapt it for the kid, because really, when you get age ranges from 12 to under, they vary so much year to year.
Yep.
The capabilities.
Well, and one 12-year-old could be like at stage 9 of his developmental cycle, while the other one's at 3.
Right. So just providing, again, and it's so easy. I think it's because my adult programming is de-emphasized on the, what traditional CrossFit competitiveness, what you would program in a traditional, most competitions are going to throw you, I'm just going to run you over with this workout.
Yep.
Like, do 1 million push-ups.
It's here to break you.
Right. And I try to take the other avenue of, I want to make it A, fun, B, challenging, at the same time, build in some strategy so that, I like thinking man's workouts. Like, I like to make you do it 3 or 4 times because you're halfway through it and you realize that you took the wrong approach. Yep. If I can do that, then I feel I have accomplished my goal as far as programming. But the funny thing is when you do more strategy-based, more, something that is not such just a brute force thing, it adapts really well for kids.
Yeah.
And, I love it. Every year I program like a death by, or, which is basically an EMOM format. You go until you can't go. I love those workouts so much, mainly because that's mostly what I do at home. So that's how I come up with all of them. But I love them because it's going to, you're in control of your own destiny, meaning you basically decide when you're not, you give up.
You're pulling the plug.
Right. And so the clock's not in control. But at the same time, it's not going to kill you because, you're just not going to be able to make it. Wherever your fitness level is, that's where you're going to finish.
Yep.
There's no pushing through. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Not in the aspect of a 4-time workout that has no cap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, you're not going to sit there for an hour grinding through reps. The timing is gonna be what ends up stopping your workout. But yeah, I've found that those adapt really well to the kids, and the kids have a lot of fun with it. And I've watched tons of those videos that get submitted, even though I don't even require videos for kids. A lot of people do it. I think mainly because the kids, they want to share. It's just a great shared experience because you get families that all do the competition together, and the workouts are similar enough where, they basically do, the movements that their parents are doing, and their parents are videoing them, so they kind of get in on that action. So that's where I have the most fun with it, is just because I can do that. I can do that with an online event, and they're in a safe environment. Well, they should be in a safe environment. Hopefully their coaches and or parents, or, in some cases those are one and the same, are not, from what I've seen, has all been, challenging themselves, but not like in a way that is detrimental to their health. Whereas I feel like once you get to the teenage years, it's a little bit harder to draw that line. That's more of a gray area.
Yep.
Because I've seen some teenagers that are very as competitive, if not more, than adults.
Yeah.
And at the same time, they don't know how to deal with that. And that's why I probably won't ever venture into doing something with teens. With an on-site, I mean.
Yeah.
There's just too much. I don't know how to provide that safe environment.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know how to program for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The kids I could see doing, because I can nerf something.
Yeah.
But when you're dealing with teens, you want to pay them the respect of programming something that's challenging, at least on par with, that intermediate adult athlete, because some of them are, in some cases, are in better shape than their superiors.
Yeah.
But at the same time, their mental development, their knowing their body and their limits isn't there. And that's kind of dangerous at that age, I feel.
Definitely.
And that's why I never really understood teens at the games either. But
Well, they had that huge break between CrossFit Kids and the Brand X, like for that very reason, and that's what we're seeing with CrossFit for like the fitness versus CrossFit competitions is they're Glassman's acknowledging like, hey, we're putting way too much emphasis on the leaderboard, on CrossFit the sport, when we should be putting emphasis on like what is sustainable health and fitness, what is sustainable training look like.
Which looking back, like I guess I don't understand that split from Brand X. I mean, I'm sure there was other things going on besides that.
Yeah.
You know, but that's exactly what Brand X was saying. It's like, hey, what are we doing here? Like, you know, we got these teen athletes competing at the CrossFit Games, but in a very, very serious, not in a, oh, let's just have fun and feature some of these amazing teenage athletes. It felt like it was taken just as seriously as the adult divisions.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but again, like, I think the big thing for me is it's inclusion, right? Like, again, it goes back to the original manifesto, which was basically, all right, I want to provide the very best experience I can provide to anybody that wants to participate. And, you know, how, you know, we've already conquered, obviously, you know, RX can pretty much compete in any competition that they want. A scaled athlete is kind of our bread and butter, where I really try to make it my divisions. I really try to make so somebody that's in the middle can decide, all right, do I want to go for the podium in scaled, or do I want to swing with the big hitters in RX? And that intermediate athlete, I like to give them that decision, give them that option of, all right, I really want to challenge myself here. I want to see how I stack up against, you know, and they're not like the best in the region or anything, but they're people everybody knows. They're typically people that at least, you know, locally, like, are well known, either just because they've worked out at your gym, or you've seen them, you know, compete at some other competition. And you know, from that standpoint, that scale, that intermediate athlete, that's really how I want to make it both divisions attainable for them. So that's why I don't really, you know, I don't program high level gymnastics too often unless it's a team format. But again, like, widening that inclusion, that range, you know, we extended it to the kids and the teens. I think in the second year, I think we did that. And we've been that's been growing every year. And now it's just the natural evolution of that is, all right, what else can we do? You know, okay, masters, we'll section that off. Because, you know, I think might be a time where we fracture that off even further. But again, it's more of, you know, that's why I like providing master scaled and masters RX, is because I feel, you know, there's a dynamic there as far as, you know, I know some masters athletes that are in better shape than most of the RX athletes out there, you know, but at the same time, you know, I know some people that are that same exact age that are either new to the sport or just not that freak they don't have the freak genetics that this person does, or whatever, and giving them an option to compete against people with a like skill level.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if we'll ever go more fractured on the masters divisions. I like to keep a lot, you know, I don't want to have two people in a division. That's the biggest thing. And that's
there was one group at Harley Strong. They're like, can we just have a co-ed division? I'm like, no, you're the only ones. Well, we could win. I'm like, well, you're the only ones.
Yeah.
This is a charity event.
Right.
Like, no, you're just
Yeah.
because everybody just gets so good. Like, but we have a chance of winning. I'm like, but you're the only one. Like, this is a same sex
Right.
teamwork. And I'm like,
It's
confused.
what always got me about like local weightlifting events and stuff like that. Like, yeah, you're the only one in that age. You know, you get the medal because you showed up.
But yeah, it's just the funny competitive side of people. You know, great people. It's just
People lose their mind.
they lose their minds for like a medal.
Yeah.
Like, we're here, all these gyms are getting together, all these people, all these organizations, all these teachers are there, having a great time. All these people show up, and yet we still like lose. Like, there were even a few youth athletes I had to talk to. They were just like so worried about their scores, and I'm like, your judge doesn't even work out. Like, cut him some slack.
Yeah.
Like,
You're lucky he can count.
yeah, it's like I like respect that what's going on, but we lose our minds when it comes to competition. And was it Napoleon? People will jump on bayonets or kill themselves for a bit of cloth, and it's like, it's a true statement. But I want to. So we've covered the opens, we've covered the classics. We're jumping into the upcoming faction games, this 2-day format. We're going to be under the lights Saturday, Comet Field.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to be at Century World Sunday morning. There's, 2 events at Comet, 3 at Century World?
Yeah. So I guess to just describe the format, this is the second iteration of this, what we call the faction games, which Bill can take credit for actually somewhat influencing that name. I believe I got it from you.
I'm just your muse. Just whisper things to you on
and then I turn them into giant monstrosities. But this really stemmed out of, again, the necessity for me to kind of figure out something that not everybody's doing. So what it is it's a team format. We like team formats because it's just the best format as far as A, getting people involved, but also B, just getting more people there.
Yep.
For all intents and purposes, these events are not hardcore spectator events yet. I don't know if they ever will be. That's kind of the next evolution of the sport.
It's, I always compare it to like train to hunt.
Yeah.
Like, it's
niche.
Yeah, it's very niche. Very niche.
But from that standpoint, instead of like having what we wanted to do was have like any CrossFit event, we want to test multiple domains across a broad spectrum of activities. So, feeding into that, I just took that a step further of instead of generalizing it, right? We want to encourage a well-rounded team. So it's a dynamic team format. And what that means is there's basically your team can be made up of between 4 and 6 people. And then so though you can register, you need at least 4 people to compete. You can register those 2 additional people. And basically what that provides you is a number of things. One is it deepens the pool that you can dip from. So just like, bench players you have on, say, a basketball team.
Yep.
Some of those players are specialty players. Some of those are, players that, might be well-rounded to come in the clutch. This is the same idea. So you are in control of the team that you put together. The programming dictates that, basically you want to be able to have a very well-rounded team, but also in the clutch need somebody that may be a specialty. So, for example, like one of the online events was a Sinclair total. A Sinclair total is basically a Olympic weightlifting total, a snatch, and a clean and jerk. So that being one of the events, it would obviously have benefit for a team to have somebody that is a specialty in that to basically maximize their score. So the idea of the faction games was mainly to include as many people as possible. This year being the second iteration, I really wanted to, even in the first iteration, I wanted to be able to extend the number of events that we could do. So prototypical, if you go to a CrossFit event, at least, like a 1 day or even a 2 day event, you're only going to get 4, 5, 6 workouts in.
That's a thick, that'd be a.
Yeah. And you could do it in a 2 day event. Definitely you could get, a significant, amount of events. But typically, if at least around here, it's usually a 1 day event. People want to get in, get out. You're looking at maybe 4 with a final, maybe, but it's typically 4 workouts in. So my biggest gripe with that was always there's not a whole lot you can test with just 4 workouts. I mean, you can hit the generalizations, but you can't hit the specialties.
Yep.
And so what I looked at from that standpoint was how do we make this a little more interesting, meaning, how you build your team is going to affect how you perform, but also, the age-old strategy of, working as a team, putting a lot of strategy into those team workouts and, providing that experience where it's not just about showing up and doing a whole bunch of reps. It's about thinking who's gonna do the best, what combination of the team's gonna do the best at that specific workout, and also bringing those specialty people on to maximize maybe those events that are specialty events. So this year we kind of extended this. I've always wanted to do a multi-day and in this case also multi-venue competition. Coming off the success of that first team event at Gerke, I still got people talking about that. It's really hard to pull off an outdoor event as an organizer. It's stressful as hell, mainly because of the weather and I always thought if I was ever do one again that I have to leave myself some outs. And the only way I'm going to do that is if I have an indoor venue that can comparably, I can flip around scheduling, based on weather. And that's kind of what I'm trying to pull off with this one. I'm really hoping for good weather as far as the field workout goes. But yeah, Saturday, June 15th, we'll at least the schedule, barring weather. Saturday morning, we'll do the endurance event at Century World. And then Saturday night, under the lights at Comet Field, which is Wapaka's like $2.7 million facility that they built for their Wapaka High School. Really a legit field. Everything is really nice there. Looking forward to that, and hopefully we'll get at least part of those events under the lights. So there'll be 2 events there in the evening. One, which was just announced, is 4x400 meter relay. The second event will be announced the day of, which will be a field workout.
Yeah. Got an idea for that. I'm gonna bounce off you quick.
And then we'll wrap it up Sunday morning with 2 events: the strength event, which is a barbell event, and the final event will be the gymnastic event. So we'll be doing that Sunday. I think during the day, the Century World events, both Saturday and Sunday, will run between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. And then the night event at Wapaka Comet Field will be probably about from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. I'm hoping to finish under the lights, even though I quickly realized that June 15th, it stays light pretty long. So the lights will be on.
Just whether
it won't be completely dark. But it should be fun regardless. I'm just hoping for some good weather, and we will, we'll see how it goes. But we got 22 teams signed up, and ironically, it landed 11 scaled teams, 11 RX teams. So we'll have heats of 6, so 4 heats. Surprisingly, the nice thing about it, with everything going on, usually you're trying to cram 2 days worth of stuff in one day. This gives us a lot of leeway. I think it'll be more enjoyable for the athletes. I know it'll be more enjoyable for the volunteers, even though it's multi-day. We're talking, not busting those guys for 8 hours straight. There'll be nice big breaks in between for the crew and judges, which is always the issue.
Yep.
Resourcing for these
burning out
tough.
everyone.
But the athletes are always asking, well, we take too long of breaks between. We don't need that long. I'm like, I know you don't. It's the judges and crew that need it. But no, I think it'll be fun. I think this year is kind of a trial run as far as the multi-day, multi-venue. What I'd really like to see, I think this will be the one competition that we do for sure year in and year out as far as on-site. And mainly because what I want to do is start highlighting venues around the area. I've already been talking to, Willett Ice Arena. Obviously Gerke Field is a no-brainer.
Yep.
When they're not resurfacing the track. Willett's getting remodeled, I guess, this year as well. So that'll hopefully be an option next year for an indoor venue. Century World will always kind of be our headquarters, I think. The facility is just second to none. I mean, the field house, locker rooms, concessions, just the ambiance there is pretty much A+. It's great for not only the athletes and, the vendors or whatever, but also just for spectators, with the restaurant there and everything else. If we are going to get people to start turning out for these events, the amenities there are going to be the thing, at least what gets them in the door.
Yep.
That's kind of that next level thing. It's like, the athletes I got, right?
Yep.
They're bought in. But how to draw, sponsors and vendors and then spectators is kind of the next thing. But at the same time, we really do this for the athletes anyway. And, the athletes bring people. That's kind of what makes up 99% of the spectators is just, their community showing up to support their athletes. And at this point, it's just kind of, again, it's just a showcase. It's not a big moneymaker. It's not really anything, as far as a business, it's it's a passion project at best. But I still think there's something there that's bigger.
Yeah.
It's just, it's tough to see without that big sponsor or that big support from, the gyms to get their athletes involved. And like I said, the competition arena here is, you have a lot of choices. What I notice is that, like anything, what competitions you sign up for and pay good money for that's what you're voting for.
Yep.
And I think some of that gets watered down, meaning there's not an expectation level set.
Yeah.
Like the expectation level is very low. Like, did you plan workouts? Did the event run?
Yep.
Like, do I get a t-shirt? Those are like, whereas I would really like to see that bar raise. And like, I really hope, there's certain people that have reached out to me that I've been working with. One just got back from 2 weeks ago, which was big impact games over in Kakana. And those guys are, I laugh because they're very much where I was in 2015, like wide-eyed, like, oh, this is awesome, this is fun, and oh, we want to do something bigger, we want to push the envelope, and they're, they did one event. They're talking like, well, let's what about doing a sanctioned event, like a sanctional? I'm like, yeah, I mean, if that's what you're after, that's fine. My problem with that is like, I know we could do it. Like, I mean, again, it's one of those things where I know somebody said, oh, you can't do that. Like, well, yeah, you can. It's not that hard. Like, it's just not. But it's also not the focus that I want. There's enough competitions out there for elite athletes. It doesn't interest me at all. Like, and even athletes outside the area, I don't really care. Like, I care about this community. I care about the people that are local that I can have an impact on a regular basis rather than a once a year basis. And same with the gyms. Like, I don't think anybody really understands, I mean, other than, the people in this room, how much I want to get them involved and help them. Like, whether that's equipment or community building or whatever. And all I'm looking for is somebody to reach out and say, hey, like, we really want to be involved in this. We have, whatever, we have this need to fill. Is there any way we could figure out, like, all right, how to leverage what we're already doing and feed that? Like, so whether that's, gelling their community more, which just happens inherently by doing, something like the Bullet Point Open or even one of the on-site events. I mean, it's a little harder with the on-site because you have to kind of travel with your community.
Yep.
But it's totally doable. I know a whole bunch of gyms that, their athletes register for Festivus or something, and then like half the box goes and watches.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, that's a big deal. That's how you as a business owner or a coach or a, whatever, that's retention right there. Like, the more interconnected your community is, the less likely somebody's going to leave.
Yep.
Now, part of that is, the service that you do, but I'd say more importantly is their connections with the other people there.
Yeah.
As far as retention goes, in my opinion. That's what, for the most part, people are emphasizing on. But yeah, I think this year's event, like I said, this is the second year, 22 teams, 2 days, 2 venues, a lot of coordination, a lot of stuff left to do, but I've spent all the money.
We're going to make it happen. All of it. All of it plus some. It's going to be fun. We're going to make it happen. I'm excited, and it sucks for everyone listening because it's too late to sign up, but come
see.
Support.
Buy a t-shirt. Scream at some people, and then stay tuned for it's free.
It
free,
is free,
by the way.
Yep. And stay tuned for next year's Open. So I'm excited. We're gonna keep it rolling. Or ranch.
I'm envisioning some charity events at the ranch. We're trying to think of something right now for I don't know if a competition or just something, but doing something at the ranch, doing the whole, benefit Humane Society or something like that, or something.
Yep.
Part of me is looking a little inward as far as the future of all this goes. And, again, it's all kind of, Stevens Point centric, but all, maybe even narrower focus of just, supporting you guys here, D1, CrossFit Stevens Point, Fraternal, these groups that have, started to, form this larger community, which, I think it's more gelled now than it has ever been. Just case in point, the Harley Games, every gym in the area was involved in that.
Yep.
So I'd like to continue that
for sure
and provide a platform that is neutral ground.
Yep.
As far as, nobody's home turf.
Yep.
Something you can get behind. it's always been kind of the focus of being the Switzerland of
No, definitely.
fitness.
That was the whole reason for the Bullet Point Open videos being at each gym, every gym that's in town. Like,
Yeah, I think it worked really well. I'm looking forward to the next Open too. Just just new stuff, trying to expand that, but expanding it locally. I think.
Mhm.
I think we hit 1,000 athletes mainly because of some box owners just going all in.
Yeah.
Right? And at their own benefit.
Yeah.
I mean, they all earned a ton of bumper plates and, got a ton of benefit, just from their community being involved in it. So I think we'll continue with that trend. I'm not sure how much it'll grow. I think 1,000 is a good number.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it needs to get bigger than that, but I think our focus will be more, how do we get more local people involved?
Yeah.
As opposed to, people in, Florida or
For
Hungary,
sure. Hungary.
which we've had overseas before.
All the Wisconsinites. So we're gonna recap the whole topic and the whole reason behind this podcast, and most of our podcasts is always coming back to the community. That like this idea of how do you forge community, and how do you build. How do you help build people up, give them the physical skills, the mental skills of confidence, competition, realizing that we all create our own kind of self-narratives and self-limiting perceptions of ourselves, where something as simple as a fitness competition can push past that. Like having a why, having a thing to come around that pushes us past our threshold and our comfort zone. That's really the whole thing behind Bullet Point. That was why it started as a barbell club in the beginning.
Yeah, and that's a big reason not a whole lot of people understand it. Like they look at it as a competition. Like I'm trying. Like
he's trying to make money. He's
right.
It's like I'm trying to make money to make it bigger.
Yeah, to be able to include more people. Yep. You have to play that game of like, all of these ones that say, oh yeah, fittest in Wisconsin or showing blah, blah, blah. It's like, I have to pretend that is part of my reasoning, but it's really not. Mm-hmm. Like I know who butters my bread, and it's completely providing that experience to somebody that isn't going to get it anywhere else. Yep. Like, or as a stepping stone for that person to, go to that next level. Like, it's a weird dynamic because typically well-run, well-funded, events like this are typically need to be geared to elite athletes because that's what sponsors want. Mm-hmm. Sponsors want, that elite person that, has a huge following or whatever to pump up their brand. But what they don't understand is you can get the same exposure with, in mass, mm-hmm. With these athletes, because, I hate to break it to a lot of these players, the 1%, they're probably sponsored by your rival company that makes the same product you are. The people buying your product are all those people, mm-hmm. are all the scaled people that want to become the elite athlete. So it's such a weird racket, man. It's so weird, but yeah, like I said, on the surface, to attract, my goal isn't really to attract elite athletes. I love having them. Like, mm-hmm. I like that they can see that, okay, this is a well-run event and I'm going to go up against some, of the best athletes in the area, et cetera. But I'm more, it's just about the same experience. That's why you look at podium prizes, you look at everything is, you look at RX, you look at scaled, they're the same.
Yep.
And I do that for a reason, because I think both are one is just as important as the other. And even if I could weigh it the other way, I probably totally would. But my RX division, there's still, like I said, intermediate athletes in there. But I mean, for me, that's what it's all about. Like, I think, and right now it's just one of those things of you know, figuring out where that niche is, and then trying to, again, it's being more inclusive. And you know, it's some things get lost because, you know, we're 4 or 5 years in and the new car smell has worn off the brand, but you know, we have a pretty healthy following. And they, you know, when you go to a Bullet Point event, you know what
you're getting.
You know what you're getting
for sure.
But yeah, no, that's no, I'm looking forward to it, man. It's going to be a good event. You know, and I just hope for good weather at the field.
Right, fingers crossed. But yeah, so if gym owners or member athletes, if you're the idea of building community, building these events, building competition, like excites you, like it does John and I, definitely reach out to Bullet Point. They've got the Community for a Cause series where they make fundraising at your gym super fucking simple. We've got February events, we've got October event, and really you come to John with an idea for a fundraiser. Yeah. He's going to build you a system that'll make it super easy to run.
I love it when people come to me with like these kind of generic events that I've made. They work really well, but like to me, it's all about personalizing.
Yeah,
that's why like every time, you know, we have a new gym that participates in, say, Love Gone Bad or Respect Iraq or whatever, and they're like, but they were talking about, well, we have this family of the gym that is affected that we want to do it. I'm like, yeah, donate the money wherever you want. Like, I don't care.
It doesn't need to come back.
It doesn't even need to be the, you know, like, because we try to do a theme like Respect Iraq, obviously Breast Cancer Awareness Month, Love Gone Bad for Heart Month. But half the time the charities are just you know, stuff that has an immediate need
in their
that community.
Yeah, so it's awesome.
So, and then on top of that, a lot of them reach out with like amendments to, well, do we have to, you know, can we change the workout or can we change the format or whatever? I'm like, yes, absolutely. Like, I'm just a mouthpiece.
Yep.
I can. The nice thing about the stuff that I do is primarily IT related, and you know, so setting up registration, organizing, this is my wheelhouse. You know, and because of my connections with Bullet Point, I have screen printers for shirts. I can coordinate all this stuff, and it's business as usual for me. Whereas somebody, you know, a local gym owner that has never organize something like that, which, you know, apparently is a skill.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell everybody. I'm like, and I'm not going to beat down your door being like, participate in my event. Like all of mine, it really ebbs and flows every year. Like, I think one year we had like 16 gyms, and then the next year we had like just the local gyms do it. And, you know, every time I just go around and ask and like, hey, we're doing this. If you're interested, you know, reach out and I'll set it up, and all you got to do is basically show up the day of and host it. I think, you know, I'd like to get back to hitting that a little harder. I think part of it is I need to push the marketing a little bit harder to make more of an impact. You know, some of those things, you know, kind of fell by the wayside of like, I had the one of those things where, you know, I figured, okay, everybody knows what this is now, right? Like, everybody knows what Love Gone Bad is, blah blah blah, what we do it for, etc. But I think that was a mistake. Meaning, like, I have to drive it home every time in order to have the results that, you know, those first couple of years we made over like you know, 5 figures for a one-day event for, you know, like 3 or 4 different charities, you know, and it was just ridiculous. But it's kind of like, you know, plateaued, and, you know, it's one of those things. It's the same with Bullet Point, you know. It's like, you know, everybody knows that it's a good event. Everybody knows what they're going to get. But you know, people still just be like, oh, you know, they make no discerning between it and every other event that's going on out there, which it's fine. Like, that's, you know, I always said I'm just going to keep doing it until nobody shows up. then I'll go do something else.
Fair enough. That's the beauty of it. All right, man. So people can follow you, Bullet Point Ranch.
Bullet Point Ranch, Bullet Point Competition Series, Instagram, Facebook.
Do you have a personal Instagram?
Yeah.
Do you post to it?
Not really anymore.
Okay, I didn't think so. I was like,
personal Instagram is more. Yeah, I mean, Bullet Point Ranch kind of took that over.
yeah.
Occasional, like if I go on vacation or something.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
And if I do some stupid workout, I'll typically post on there. But yeah, Bullet Point Ranch is the most active right now.
That's the one to follow.
Because we're a year in at that place, and
you're integrating it. It's going to be I foresee a lot at the Bullet Point Ranch once you get the homestead figured out.
Yeah, it's a ongoing experience for sure.
Fuck yeah.
But yeah, Instagram, Bullet Point Ranch, Bullet Point Competition Series, primarily on Facebook, but we'll have somebody running our Instagram come competition day, so look for that on Instagram as well. And then, website, www.bulletpointcompetition.com. Has pretty much everything you want to know about our past events or current events, and online leaderboards for the event at Faction Games will be on there. The same with social media. Easiest way to follow along. But yeah, show up day of June 15th, 16th at Century World during the day, and then Saturday the 15th, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Comet Field at Wapaka High School. We'll be there throwing down on a couple workouts. So come out. There'll be food. PJ is obviously always good for food at Century World, and man, it's gonna be a party.
Party. Later, everybody.